In our previous class, we talked about psychodynamic theory. In today's class, we will talk about Adlerian theory. Adlerian theory was developed by Alfred Adler, who was a contemporary of Sigmund Freud. In fact, they worked together for some years. Adler was a member of the Vienna Psychoanalytic Society, and after Freud, he became the president of the society. However, Adler soon realized that his ideas actually, he started developing some ideas that were at variance with those of the Freud and others in the society. He presented those ideas to the Vienna Society and faced with severe criticism from the society members. Adler left the society and formed his own group and developed his theory, which later came to be known as individual psychology. In this presentation, we will talk about the key concepts of Adlerian theory and how those ideas, those concepts are integrated in a counseling framework. What are the key ideas of Adler regarding human nature? Adler said, unlike Freud, who emphasized that human behavior is motivated by inborn instinct, Adler proposed that people are social beings and are primarily motivated by the social urges. He said that social and cultural factors play an important role in shaping human behavior and experience. This emphasis on social determinants of human behavior that was overlooked or minimized by Freud was the major contribution of Adler. Adlerians also rejected Freud's deterministic stance. However, they do not go to the other extreme. They maintain that human behavior is not determined solely by heredity or environment, but individuals have capacity to interpret, influence, and create events. Adler asserts that what we are born with is not as important as what we choose to do with the abilities and limitations that we all possess. Adler replaced the deterministic explanations of behavior with purposive and goal-oriented one. He said, all human behavior has a purpose. Humans set goals for themselves and behavior becomes unified in the context of these goals. Therefore, it is important for a counselor to explore the purpose and goal while understanding behavior of the client. Adler also talked about feelings of inferiority. I think this is one of the major contribution of Adler. Adler said that inferiority feelings are common to all of us. To be a human being means to feel inferior. Under normal circumstances, feelings of inferiority function as a driving force for mankind. It is the source of all human striving. Individual growth results from compensation from our attempts to overcome our real or imagined inferiorities. Throughout our lives, he said, we are driven by the need to overcome this sense of inferiority and to strive for increasingly high level of development. This process starts during infancy. Infants are helpless and dependent on adults. Adler believed that infants are aware of their helplessness and thus develop the feeling of inferiority. Inferiority feelings are inescapable, but more important, they are necessary because they provide the motivation to strive and grow. But what happens when a child is unable to compensate for his or her feeling of inferiority? The inability to overcome inferiority feelings intensifies children, leading to the development of an inferiority complex. People with an inferiority complex have a poor opinion of themselves and feel helpless and unable to cope with the demands of life. Adler found such a complex in the children of many adults who came to him for treatment. Neglected, unwanted, and rejected children can develop an inferiority complex. Their infancy and childhood are characterized by a lack of love and security because their parents are either indifferent or hostile. As a result, these children develop feelings of worthlessness or even anger and view others with distrust. Subjective perception of reality. Adlerians attempt to understand the world from the client's subjective frame of reference. This orientation is also called as phenomenology. From this perspective, objective reality is less important than how we interpret reality and the meanings we attach to what we experience. Adlerians try to understand behavior from this vantage point of subjective reality. For Adlerian counselor, objective reality is less important than how the client interprets reality and the meanings he/she attaches to his or her experience. Social interest. The term social interest refers to an individual's awareness of being part of the human community and striving for a better future for humanity. Adler believed that people's mental health and personal growth depend mostly on their efforts to contribute to the social welfare. We cannot survive for long without sustained cooperation among members of the community. Our survival depends on the willingness to relate to each other on an intimate basis and engage in pro-social acts. The ultimate goal, in Adler's view, is the creation of an ideal society. Adler believed that it can only be achieved through the development of social interest. Adler believed that social interest is inborn. It exists in all humans like a predisposition. And like all predispositions, it also requires proper environment, guidance, and training for its fruition. Towards this end, Adler devoted a great deal of his time in establishing child guidance clinics to improve his schools and to educate public regarding proper methods of child rearing, hoping to release the inherent social interest among children and adults. In recent years, a lot of scales has been developed to measure social interest. And there are a lot of studies also coming out which suggest that people high on social interest are more altruistic, more trustworthy, socially more adjusted and helpful than those who are lower on social interest. There are other studies which also suggest that individuals high on social interest are found to be less depressed, less anxious, less lonely, less narcissistic, and less hostile. Style of life. Adler used the term style of life to denote a behavioral framework of how people think, feel, act, and live. Adler suggested that an individual's style of life consists of 4 parts. The first part is individual's perception of himself, herself. Second part is individual's guiding self-ideal. Now, what is self-ideal? Self-ideal refers to an individual's imagined future goals that give direction to his or her behavior. The third component is individual's perception of the world, how the individual look at the world, how he interprets the world. And the fourth is ethical beliefs or convictions. Now, everyone has a style of life that is developed from early family and social interactions. Adler suggested that our unique style of life is formed to a considerable extent during the first 4 years of our life. Children develop this distinctive style of life within the family while interacting with their parents and other significant persons. Depending on the factors affecting them, children may develop destructive or constructive style of life. Adler pointed out 3 major factors that may give rise to neurotic or destructive style of life. These 3 factors are organ inferiority, neglect or rejection, and pampering. What is organ inferiority? Organ inferiority refers to real or perceived physical weaknesses or organ defect. Experiences of neglect or rejection may also engender feelings of worthlessness, which can further hinder their ability to connect or relate to others. Pampered children, when they move out in the world, experience feeling of inferiority as they do not receive the same kind of attention they enjoyed in their own family. They try to compensate these feelings of inferiority by establishing unrealistically high goals with which they hope to demonstrate their superiority over others. Uh, Persons who develop constructive style of life are those who have experienced family life uh, characterized by respect and consideration. Under such social settings, children are more likely to learn the value of equality and cooperation. They set their goals in accordance to the social interest. Adler suggested that people can be classified into four major types based on their lifestyle. These are ruling type, getting type, avoiding type, and socially useful type. The ruling type people are aggressive, dominating people who don't have much social interest. When threatened, these people reduce their anxiety by behaving in antisocial ways. In their intense desire for superiority, they may hurt or exploit others. They need to control others in an urge to feel powerful. The second type, the getting type, these types of individuals are passive and make no efforts to solve their problems. They are dependent and want others to take care of them. The third type, avoiding type, these people having this kind of lifestyle try to escape life's problems and take little part in any kind of socially constructive activity. The fourth lifestyle considered by Adler is socially useful type. People with a great deal of social interest and activity belong to this type. These types of people have courage to face and solve life's problems. They cooperate with others, contribute to social welfare, and build a better community. Adler also talked about three universal life tasks. He said that we all need to master three universal tasks. Social task, meaning building friendship. Love marriage task, meaning establishing intimacy. And occupational task, meaning how individual contributes to society. Everyone is required to address these three tasks regardless of age, gender, culture. Uh, when people seek therapy, it is because of the inability to successfully meet one or more than one of these life tasks. Adler said that faulty lifestyle is the reason for people not being able to master these three life tasks. Later, Rudolf Deckers and Harold Mossack added two more life tasks, self-acceptance task and spiritual task. Uh, Self-acceptance task is related to how one gets along with oneself and accepts oneself. It is concerned with how one accepted, uh, you know, oneself, be peace with oneself, respect oneself, and judge oneself. Uh, does the person love their physical body? Uh, are they good enough? Uh, these are the questions that addresses this life task. The spiritual task refers to the search of meaning in life and one's relationship with the cosmos. Why I'm here on the earth. What is the purpose of my life? Adler indicated that to master this task meant to understanding the meaning of life and the significance of one's existence. Birth order. Uh, the Adlerian theory is unique in its approach as it gives special attention to birth order and how it impacts the psychological development of children. Adler tried to answer the question as to why children born in the same family differ so widely. He pointed out that it is a fallacy that children born in the same family experience same environment. Children experience different psychological situations because of their birth order. For example, the first child receives a great deal of attention during the time he or she is the only child. However, when the second child arrives on the scene, she found herself ousted from that favored position. She thinks that she is no more special or unique. She thinks that the newcomer would rob her of her position. In this situation, the firstborn reasserts their position by becoming a model child and exhibiting high achievement drive. The second child of the two is in a different situation. By the time the second child is born, she always has to share attention from the firstborn. The second child seems to be in constant competition with the firstborn. If the one is talented in one area, the other strive for recognition by developing other abilities. Often the second born is opposite to the firstborn. The middle child often feels squeezed out. He feels that the world is unfair and feels cheated. He may develop a poor me attitude. However, in families where conflicts are common, the middle child may become a peacemaker. If there are 4 children in a family, the second child may feel like the middle child, and the third one tends to be more easygoing and social. The youngest child is always the baby of the family and tends to be a pampered child. Youngest children may go their own way. They often develop in ways that no other in the family thought about. Generally, they tend to be dependent on others for support and protection. The only child in the family has no rivals in the family and is likely to be the center of attention. In most cases, the only child is overprotected and pampered, especially by the mother. In later life, the child may experience considerable interpersonal difficulty if he or she is not being universally admired or liked. In Adlerian therapy, working with family dynamics, especially relationship among siblings, assume a key role. However, Adler said that birth order only provides hints about one's personality development rather than cause of all later behaviors. So we have covered the basic concepts of Adlerian theory, and now on this slide I have put some questions for your reflection. Go through these questions, reflect on these questions, and if you want to discuss it more, we can do it tomorrow in the class. What leads to clients' problems? Adler believed that style of life is acquired very early in life in response to overcome the feelings of inferiority. Once these lifestyles are formed, they are difficult to change no matter whether they are effective or not effective. Generally, people resist change because of several reasons. First, they experience safety in the status quo. Secondly, they may be afraid of the unpredictable outcome the change may bring up. Thirdly, they are not aware of the alternative ways of doing things. And finally, they are afraid of recognizing errors in their thoughts and actions. Adler used the term private logic to denote the faulty reasoning behind maintaining their ineffective lifestyle. And learning how to correct faulty private logic is central to Adlerian therapy. For example, a client may say, "I'm weak, the world is full of strong people, therefore I cannot succeed in life." Naturally, this client will withdraw from society. The job of an Adlerian counselor is to help client modify their private logic. There are four major therapeutic goals under Adlerian theory. Uh, the first one is helping client develop social interest so that he could feel connected to the people around him. The second one is overcoming the feeling of inferiority uh, and discouragement. Uh, Also, the counselor's job is to help client to modify faulty lifestyle in the direction of becoming more adaptive, flexible, and social. Uh, Changing the private logic, which is not helping the client, is also one of the major goals in therapeutic goals in Adlerian therapy. Adlerian counseling passes through four phases. In phase one, the counselor's focus is to develop therapeutic alliance with the client. To establish a relationship, counselor's initial focus is on the person rather than on the problem. In short, a positive relationship emerges when the counselor attends, listens, responds, shows respect to clients' resources, and exhibits faith, hope, and genuine interest in the client as a person. In the second phase, the counselor assesses the client's psychological dynamics. The purpose of this assessment is to understand client's lifestyle. During this phase, the counselor seeks to understand how the problem started, what are the precipitating factors, what is the level of social interest, what are the coping style of the client. The Adlerian assessment lies heavily on exploration of client's family constellation. The counselor tries to understand the family atmosphere when the client was growing up, including the birth order and sibling relationship, parental relationship, and family values and extended family culture. Uh, Another assessment procedure used by Adlerian counselors is early recollections. According to Adler, early recollections provide valuable insight into the client's past development and present conditions. Uh, these early recollections are used to understand clients' views of self, others, and life itself. By the end of this phase, the counselor comes up with the basic mistakes that the client make in his or her style of life. Some of these basic mistakes are overgeneralization. The world is full of cheats. Impossible goals. Everybody must like me. Denial of self-worth. I'm good for nothing. Faulty values. I must reach the top come whatever may. The job of an Adlerian counselor is to bring these faulty beliefs to clients' notice and help them understand the futility of these irrational beliefs. In third phase, the counselor uses the findings of the assessment to foster self-understanding and insight in the client. How counselors do that? Adlerians use interpretation as tentative suggestion in the form of open-ended question that can be explored in the session, such as, I could be wrong, but I'm wondering if. This way of offering interpretation does not put the client in defensive mode and help the client explore those stuff thoroughly. In the final phase, the counselor helps the client put insight into practice. The counselor helps client explore new ways of responding and functioning. And to do that, they use encouragement as a special feature. So this is a special encouragement is a special feature of Adlerian counseling. Through encouragement, it tries to build courage in the client. Courage emerges when people are aware of their strengths, when they know they are not alone, when they have hope and can see new possibilities in life. Adlerians makes use of all the opportunities to encourage their clients, to make them aware of their positive qualities, internal resources, and strengths. Being. Unlike the psychodynamic approach, where the client plays a passive role, Adlerian counselors build a collaborative relationship where both the client and the counselor are actively involved. The counselor does not assume the role of an expert. Rather, he collaborates with the client to explore underlying issues, set goals, and the resolution to those problems. The counselor views the client as resourceful and develop a working alliance based on the mutual trust and respect.